Have you ever felt like you just don't belong, that you don't fit, that you don't fit in, that you're odd? And that's how I felt. I used to often dream and think I'm adopted, and my adopted mum would come and find me, and we'd live happily ever after, and everything would be really, really beautiful. But sadly, that never happened. My auntie, my mum's sister, used to visit with my 3 cousins, all girls. And I used to often wonder to myself, do I tell them about my secret? Do I tell them about how I'm my uncle's favourite, their uncle? Do I tell them about Granddad's present that he keeps giving me? Do they get it as well? But something inside of me just kept telling me that it was a secret you're not supposed to tell. And that was really, really difficult when I look back. And I used to look at my 3 cousins, these 3 girls, and when they visit, the whole family used to laugh, and my auntie, my mum's sister, and her husband, they were so huggy and kissy and just nice. They were really, really nice. My auntie and uncle always spoke with really soft voices. And when they used to visit, the atmosphere in the house, in our house, used to change. And it was warm and it was nice. But when they left, all the smiles, all the lovely atmosphere changed. And it was almost as though it was a pretense. It wasn't real. My dad has always just sat in his chair. He said nothing really. He had little to say, unless it was about darts, football or snooker, or if you were in the way of the telly. It was odd, really, really odd when I look back. And I think, if I'm honest, I think my mum envied my sister, and her sister rather, and I really feel as though I picked up on that. With my mum, it was always somebody else's fault. Her glass was always half empty, unless it had a drink in it, of course. Our Christmas tree was always full of presents, though. Underneath, there was always lots and lots of presents. But you know what? Life was a show. It was all about showing, telling neighbours and family how many presents we had. But behind that door, there was a lot of bitterness. There was a lot of shouting. There was a lot of anger. And it was all so confusing for me as a child. I just had no idea what family life really was, except for bitterness, arguments, anger, and I really, if I'm really honest, got a feeling from a very early age that my mum just didn't like me. I remember being really poorly in hospital once. We still lived in the cottages, in the factory cottages. We hadn't moved into our brand new council house. We still lived in those cottages. And I remember my mum panicking. I could hear her, but I couldn't move. And I remember hearing my mum going on and on and on, like, what's up with her? She's weird. What's happening? And I was sick. I was so sick. And my whole body went really stiff. It was strange, and a memory really hard to put down on paper or really to explain to you. But my body just went contorted, and I could feel pins and needles everywhere, and I was just staring into space. I could hear what was going on around me, but I just couldn't see anything, and I couldn't feel anything. Anyway, I ended up in hospital. Highlight of my life really back then. I ended up staying in hospital, I think, for a couple of weeks. Nobody ever found out what was wrong with me. I'm not sure what was wrong with me. I'm sure spirit world would probably tell you it could be a connection. It could have been protection for me, for getting me out of there. But even during that time in hospital, my mum used to come and visit me, but she used to sit. There was never any love. There was never any connection. It was really difficult. And knowing what I know now, and seeing what I see from other people, seeing other daughters with their mothers, it was really tough. And my whole life, up until probably about 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, I still tried to buy my mum's love, to excuse my mum. I just wanted my mum to love me. And it's been a long journey to accept that, you know what, my mum doesn't really love me. And that's her choice. That really is her choice. And it was tough. All of this was going on. And maybe is that why it went on? Because my uncle, my granddad, and then my father, who abused me, did they just know because our family wasn't functional?